BigFooty Blues.
BigFooty Blues. BigFooty Blues.
Can the BigFooty Blues.
There is a saying that tells us to be strong when you are weak, be brave when you are scared, and to be humble when you are victorious. We here at the BigFooty Blues podcast are well versed in the first two, but we'll be damned if we are going to achieve the third tonight, because the mighty Blues have recorded a stirring victory against Fremantle on the weekend, and we are here to talk loud and proud about it. We're also going to take a look at our upcoming clash against the Bombers, and I'll give you the tip, humility is not high on the agenda there either. I'm ODN, and joining me on our journey tonight, he is a voyeur, known for watching sweaty young men while ticking all the boxes, and sweatier old goggle boxes getting ticked off while watching everybody else. Welcome, HBF.
Good evening, gents. Keith is an
stalking,
absolute
dude.
legend.
You can call him a hipster. You can call him a nerd. Just make sure your shoelaces are done up and you don't zig when you should have zagged. ShanDog is in the house.
Howdy doody, everyone. How are you?
You give him a build-up like that, like make him scary, and he says howdy doody.
I know, that's
Just totally destroyed the
And see,
build-up.
look, off air, before we started, we were all just discussing how Odeon comes up with these brilliant intros, and then we sit there going, oh, how do I respond?
What do I say?
And then just
I
go,
should have said this.
and then just go, hello.
How did you do, everyone?
I geared myself up again so hard then. Like, I was concentrating so hard. I still got nothing.
No, I love it. And Ferris B wanted to be here, but he has been shelved. No, like
Phrasing.
literally, we picked him up and put him on the shelf next to a collection of troll dolls and maybe scary old Blues figurine that she used to keep in her closet. Anyway, guys, look, forget all the formalities. Let's go straight to last weekend's result. It's time for the weekend wake.
This is the Weekend Wake.
So, last Sunday at Domain Stadium, round 5, Carlton 10-12-72 defeated Fremantle. Say again, defeated Fremantle 9-14-68. The 4 points, by 4 points. Goals for Carlton, Thomas 3, Jones 2, singles to Wright, Lamb, Charlie Curnow, Murphy and Gibbs. And named in the best for Carlton were Cripps, Kerridge, Murphy, Simpson, Ed Curnow and Thomas. Guys, we won a game.
Bloody brilliant, wasn't it? So good to see us win, and Mebby and I was singing the song after the game. It was fantastic.
I'm still stunned. I'm still lost for words.
The expectation is that we're going to just miss out under those circumstances, because that's what we do so often. You know, we haven't learned how to win, so you know.
That was one of the most impressive things about it, really, is that not only we've seen effort over almost entire games consistently so far this season, which has been a brilliant change to the last one, but to actually stick to structures and to not make just glaring mental errors that sort of lead us to lose a close game like that. How good is that? We're actually working as a team well. I know it's Freo. And Freo, even statistically going into the game, I was pretty confident that we would win, because as I think it was Blue and Silver who's been doing these statistical breakdowns before the games, it pointed out quite clearly that we were a superior team in most aspects. But still, they were the number one team at the end of the home and away season last year.
I mean, that raises the question, though. Statistically, we lost in disposals. We lost the clearances. We lost the inside 50s narrowly. We lost the contested possessions. We got smashed in the tackles. We even lost the headouts. And Sandylands is missing. How did we win it?
Oh, look, I thought...
Divine intervention.
Did you guys think that Freo's ball movement was abysmal on Saturday? Yeah. They could not move the ball from out of their defensive half forward of centre. I mean... I've never seen Fremantle cough the ball up like that. And whether it's a combination of sort of our pressure and their lack of confidence, but the amount of times they turned that ball over was unbelievable on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a perfect storm of Carlton's team defence getting better and better by the week, and we haven't been leaking that many points, even though teams have been getting on top of us for little periods or a quarter of a game where they're clearly dominating. We haven't been leaking too bad, and our defence is actually held up really well with Wiedering and now Plowman in there as well. So when that whole of ground defence is putting pressure on them and making the other team execute their passes well, Freo, on the other hand, are not doing that. They're really poor at that at the moment. So going into this game, all we had to do was make sure we brought that aspect of our game, and it was going to sort of play into their weakness as well, our strength, their weakness sort of thing. And that's, I reckon, what's happened basically is that despite them having more of the ball, they just couldn't use it.
What I heard today was that North Melbourne have actually conceded more points than what we have.
Yeah,
So,
that was true of before the round just gone.
yeah. So whilst they're a high scoring team, they're not a very good defensive team. So we're kind of the other way around. And with a team that's rebuilding like we are, I think it's pretty important that we get our defence right and then build our attack, much like what sort of Melbourne are doing. So, from that point of view, that's very good.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Who are their standouts, you reckon?
I really like Murphy. He had a brilliant game. Was it 13 touches in the first quarter? So really kind of came out all guns blazing. I think he was a bit quieter in the next two quarters, but I think without him, I doubt we would have got over the line in that last quarter. And the goal he kicked looked like he was cramping as he kicked the ball. So it was a pretty good effort for him to sort of will the team over the line. And I think when he looks back on his career, he may think that that's probably one of the better games he's had for our footy club.
Definitely in recent memory, anyway. But it was really important we got off to a good start against Freo over there, and we did. So that was brilliant.
Yeah. Yep.
Simpson had another great game, and he's just part of that solid defence now, and it's good to have the old hand back there. So Jamison's been out of the side, so having Simpson there as a guiding hand has been pretty useful, and he's racking them up.
He is.
About 30 possessions or something like that again. Wright had a very good game. He's turned out to be a fantastic pickup for us. Probably maybe in our top 5 players this year. I'm not sure, but he's thereabouts. And Kieran Byrne. He made a mistake early, and after that, just his attack on the ball and his run, the way he runs and takes the ball off and gives it off and gets it back and creates from that half-back line is amazing. And we might have found a harder version of Chris Aaron.
Yeah, his defensive work, clearly, because he's made a couple of mistakes over the last couple of games, his defensive work needs improvement, and you'd think that that's probably expected of a player like him, where he's come from and everything. But that attacking flair he's got is absolutely brilliant. So long as we can keep nurturing and developing his defensive game, and then just sort of release the shackles on him when he gets the ball, then I think he's definitely going to be a player.
I'd really like to give a shout out to Liam Jones. He's been a whipping boy on our board for.
I've always been behind him, 100%. Always.
He has been a whipping boy since he pretty much crossed to Carlton. And I was really pleased for him that he was able to kick those 2 goals in the last quarter. I mean, the pressure on him would have been huge, and he went back and comfortably kicked them pretty easily. So I was really pleased for him. And he's not everyone's sort of cup of tea, but he did what he had to do, and he did have a relatively quiet first 3 quarters, but he stood up when he had to, and it's good to see him get another game this week against Essendon.
Look, there's a little bit of perspective required there. I mean, it's good that he kicked those 2 goals because we don't have any tall forwards that kick goals. Obviously, Casbolt doesn't do it. So what I'm more interested in is what it does for his confidence going forward. Because he was pretty stoked with himself. He was pretty pumped about it. I don't think it was a great game. The 2 goals were vital. Yes, they were absolutely vital, but it's more about what this does for him, how he feels part of that team now, and whether that gives him confidence to run and attack the ball as well, become that That contested beast that whatever. I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to leave that alone.
What I've noticed is that when he and Casbolt were both going up for the same sort of marks and whatnot, there's got to be a bit more synergy between them, and that's only going to come with them playing a bit more together, because they rather than one sort of identify that the other player has the better position, they should be the one to really fly for it, and the other guy, do a bit more blocking and helping out rather than actually contesting the ball. It wasn't happening. They were both just in their own worlds, competing for the same ball. So the more they play together, that's probably going to change, and that's when I think we'll start seeing the better side of Liam Jones and what he can actually produce if he's got that confidence from last game going ahead, and can get a bit of time in the team.
Yeah, well, they've got a couple of games to do it. Christian Jackson has been kicking goals in the VFL. They're still not happy with his consistency, so he's one that they're really sort of forcing to learn their lessons, because they have some high expectations on him. So even if other players might have got a call up after kicking those goals, they want him to be exactly right, because they know he can go missing. So, but he's as I said, he's kicking goals. So you'd think if he starts getting he kicks more goals over the next couple of weeks in the VFL, one of those guys is under pressure. And also young Jack Silvani. It's just a natural up forward. He kicked a couple of goals in his first game back from injury. So he's somebody. While he's not a tall, I could see us going with one tall and a couple of those mobile, sort of tallish players. When he's right to go, and there's a lot of pressure. There's probably they're talking him right up, while everybody else is saying just let him just play VFL for the rest of the year and develop his body. But the kid's a little bit irrepressible, isn't he?
Yeah, I think Bolton would share that same approach to it as well. Just you're resigned to the VFL this year. I think if he shows enough and there's a position for him, then he'll get a game.
Yep. Patrick Cripps, how many contested possessions did he get in HBF?
20 or 19 or something?
Yeah, 20. 20 had 20. So
he's frantically looking for it.
No, 20. One of the posters in the Player of the Year thread mentioned that to me when I didn't put him in my votes. So
you did it. Wow.
I didn't put him in. I think I had other players in my head sort of as the game was going, and I think probably what that shows is he's probably a little bit probably had a Brett Ratton game maybe.
Yeah. I was thinking that myself. There was an opposition supporter that came on the Carlton board after the game and said, into the votes thread, and said, I can't believe you guys didn't have Cripps VOG. And he said, he's just totally underrate him. And I'm thinking, man, he's not hanging around enough. But for some reason, it's all about the new guys and Wiedering coming in and Curnow coming in and, different things we're doing with the side. And Cripps is just, I don't know, he's just rolling along being Cripps, isn't he? And I didn't notice that he was particularly quiet for a half like he had been. He was pretty consistent, I thought.
Yeah. He was right at the coalface, and I think that's probably why, whether I just didn't notice him or something, but yeah, look, I mean, having a look at the stats after the game, I mean, 20 contested possessions is an absolute amazing effort for, someone who, let's be honest, is still sort of learning the game and, how to go about things at the top level. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he's going to do against Essendon on Sunday.
You know what, seeing how many people probably overlooked how good a game Cripps did or how influential he was around the stoppages, that kind of goes away explaining for me how there was one particular incident on the wing towards the end of the game where Cripps fired out a handball at Gibbs and he just butterfingered completely and dropped it, and it was a bit of a turnover. We can't even see him with the use of cameras zoomed in on stoppages when he's under the pack and smashing through 8 people to fire out a handball at 1 billion miles an hour. No wonder the players fumble it. And yeah, we don't realise it. They have a look after the game. Like, he had 20 contested possessions and 10 clearances or something. Yeah. I don't even remember 3 of them.
His ability to be able to get his arms free and get the ball out and actually find someone. So those three skills all in the space of a second is amazing. he's an amazing player, and just I can't wait to see what else he's going to produce over his career at Carlton.
Our leadership group and our elder statesmen. This is one where they really came to the fore. They pretty much all stood up and did something. Gibbs and Murphy both kicked clutch goals in that last quarter. Ed Curnow just with 31 disposals just did what he always does and tackled his heart out. Kate Simpson with the 30 possessions. We already talked about Cripps. Dale Thomas 3 goals. Sam Doherty, the acts of courage by that guy. Especially when he went back with the flight and spoiled. I think it might have been in front of Pavlich. So and that was just heroic for a footballer. The things that sort of he does, but all those guys, they're the ones that led from the front. So, probably the week before, we're lamenting the lack of leadership and how these guys weren't standing up, and it was the young guys that were doing it all. This week it's just flipped around, and they led the way. So we need to see more of it. They got a big rap this week. I know all our leaders have been talked up. We need to see that consistently. That's what they're there for. I think that's pretty much all we got to talk about. It was a comical game. It was a scrappy game. Just the sheer emotion when that siren went. I think I started crying about probably after Jones kicked that last goal. I think it was about a minute to go. I thought not even Carlton can see two. Oh, hang on, wait a second. I waited for about another 10, 15 seconds just to make sure. Because you never know, because we've been heartbroken so many times. But the tears were welling up, and then that siren went. And to see the likes of Kieran Byrne, just rushing in there with the biggest grin on his face and screaming, and the players embracing, you could see what it meant to them. And I think Bolton said in the press conference, it just shows them, it's just a payoff for their hard work to show them that it's working.
I think that's what got to me as well. Like, I wasn't overly emotional by the win or anything like that, but when I saw the players' reaction, that's when I got that warm, fuzzy feeling, because I could see how much it meant to them. And that in turn, when the players are playing for the jumper and each other, and they're truly emotionally invested in a game sort of thing, then that's when you can really make that connection as a supporter, or when I can anyway. And I go, yeah, damn straight, this means something, Yeah. So I thought that was definitely the best part.
Absolutely, and didn't they belt out the song and the dressing? That was fantastic.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I think sort of I got sort of most emotional when sort of all the new guys were in the middle of the circle, and then the slightly bigger circle was surrounding them. I was just really wrapped for those guys with all the hard work they've put in, and as you guys have said, what Bolton said. The reward for effort. It was really good. I think that's probably what got to me the most. It was really fantastic just to actually see us being able to sort of sing the song after the game. It was excellent.
Yeah. All right. I think we'll move on there. So, high on victory, on the right path. The Blues prepare for their next challenge against a fierce rival. Let's hear what the panel think about that up next in pre-game Pep Talk.
Pre-game Pep Talk.
Round 6, Carlton versus Essendon, Sunday, 3:20pm at the MCG. Big game. We've been waiting for this. We've been waiting to, hopefully to get another win and take advantage of Essendon in their current plight. Ends for Carlton. Just remember this is a Sunday game, so we've got an extended bench, and 3 will come out tomorrow. Ends Dennis Armfield, Nick Graham, Simon White, Michael Jamieson, Jason Tutt. Out. Dylan Buckley with a calf injury. Charlie Curnow with an illness. Now, that was interesting. It must be a Powerade overdose, I would suggest. I don't know.
Powerade. I got it. Yeah, that's good.
Guys, who do you think's going to come in out of those guys? Obviously 2 of those 5 are coming in, but which ones?
As I'm the only panellist that lives in Melbourne, having a look at the weather tonight, they're forecasting 20 mils of rain on Sunday. So that I suspect will influence who perhaps comes in. And I put on the board before, I think maybe Armfield and Tutt will come in. I'm not sure that we need to go any taller than what we already are. We've lost Buckley and Curnow, so we've lost a runner and a sort of a third tall. So whether we need another, whether we need to replace sort of Curnow with a wide, I'm not convinced. So I think maybe Armfield and Tutt come in for some run on what could be a pretty wet day at the MCG.
It makes the most sense, I think. Even if it wasn't going to be wet, it would probably still be a good choice to make, because purely on a structure sense, because I think we still do look a little bit slow. We did pretty well to cover Fremantle last week, who do have some smooth movers in their team, but we don't quite have that line-breaking explosive speed that I think we probably are aiming for with guys like Bokhorst and stuff to still come back in eventually. So I think Armfield for Buckley is pretty much a no-brainer 1-for-1. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Tuck came in for Curnow. But the other thing is, as you guys mentioned earlier, we are getting smashed a bit in the centre still, and at clearances and stoppages. And I wonder whether or not the failing to improve much against Freo in that area means that Nick Graham will come back in and play as a midfielder to try and help that out.
Graham hasn't been one for clearances this year, so
I don't think he's been playing that role though. I think he's been So perhaps he might come in and do that, because we know he can. He's shown that he has before.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's a hard tackler, and that's important in the wet. It's a bit of a shame, because I think just with Essendon side the way it is over a 4-quarter effort, they're probably, some of their ring-ins have been had a fair bit of heart and whatnot, and they've given a better account of themselves than I thought they would. But it's a bit of a shame that it's possibly going to be a wet night, and the natural skill isn't going to come to the fore, and it might end up being a grind, because they do have a lot of grinders in their side. It might actually suit them. But on the other hand, if Jason Tutt does come to the side, it's going to be, with a wet ball, it's going to get turned over a lot, so he won't stand out in that regard.
That's a positive. Hey, what do you guys think about there's been a lot of people talking about, in the match thread and things like that, having dropping one of the ruckmen, whether it be Cruiser or Phillips, doesn't matter. But are you guys still happy to see the two rucks going in again next week, even though, as you've pointed out, we didn't really win the ruck contest? Well, we haven't won it at all this season, I don't think, really.
What worked well for us last year was sort of the Cruiser Casbolt combination. I still have a feeling we've got one too many talls in our team. And against Essendon, I'm not really convinced that we need that extra tall, because their backline is quite short, and they've really only got Danaher and Grimley up forward, who obviously both need attention.
And Brown as well. Yeah,
and Brown, yeah. So, but if it's going to be wet, which by all accounts it is, I'm just wondering if they might drop a tall as well. So, look, I'm happy for Bolton to play around with it and see what he thinks, but it wouldn't surprise me towards the end of the year if we go back to sort of one ruckman and Casbolt if he can straighten out his kicking. Sort of jury's still out a bit for me with the two ruckman plus Casbolt.
Look, I think at some stage during the year, I think we're kind of looking at the one big tall forward, the one tallish mobile forward, the likes of Charlie Curnow, obviously, and maybe another tall forward if Jack comes in. So we're looking a little bit of mobility, but not going too tall. That will allow us to play Casbolt as a second ruck. Unless, as I said earlier, Liam Jones gets some confidence up and keeps his place in the side all year. But we probably don't want Casbolt to be the second ruck, just leaving Liam Jones as our only tall forward.
Yeah, we'd have to bring someone else in there.
Yeah. And look, and that's not going to be, I saw White and Jamison, and I thought, well, what's going on there? Are we planning? Because there has been talk, believe it or not. Bolton has talked about Wiedering up forward,
and Jamison.
It was about Jamison up forward.
Yeah,
that's been done. It's not going to work.
Has it though?
It has been done.
For any significant sort of period, though? I don't...
Oh, but he did it. They did it for a game once, And
Yeah, he
it's
did it
just,
against Hawthorn a few years ago.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
He's,
think I remember that.
he's not a goal kicker. Even when he's got the ball, he doesn't. He's not. He's not a good goal kicker. And I guess he can take contested marks from behind, as a defender. I just don't know. He certainly doesn't have the leading patterns, and he's not going to take a pack mark. So I just don't see the point of it. He's just another body up there, and it's probably not fair on Gemmo either. And us, Simon White playing as a key forward, it's pointless. I don't see it.
I get the I mean, we've sort of been there, done that with White. We kind of, know what he can do, and he's really been replaced by Plowman down back, and I suppose you could say Lamb forward. I just don't really see a position for White in the team whilst those two are playing.
Yeah.
I mean,
just on that HBF, Lamb is he cops a little bit here and there. People thinking he doesn't do much, but he doesn't. He does a lot without the ball.
Yeah.
And I think what he does when he actually does get the ball, he does seem to make it count. He doesn't. He typically, well, from where I've been sitting, he tends to use the ball pretty well. And he was actually a bit unlucky against Fremantle. I think they were on two occasions. He could have quite easily got a free kick deep forward, and they were both missed. So he's been good. I'm not quite sure where all the negativity.
Me neither. I think he's a pretty smart footballer, and you don't feel concerned when he's got ball in hand at all. So I like him in the team, and Sumner as well. Even though Sumner's been a little quiet, I'd agree with that. He's still pressure acts and stuff like that. He's still building, and he'll come good, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was certainly quiet on the weekend, but we might as well just keep playing these kids and see how they go. But yeah, I just don't. And as much as I hate to say it about Jamo, I think he's going to find it hard to get back into the team. I think we're looking forward, and we're not going to go back to the well with guys like him. So why don't we start planning around our back line of Plowman and Wiedering and Rowe, if Rowe can sort of hold his spot.
I just find it interesting. If you're looking at three potentially maligned trades as far as packages go, collectives, we have the GWS 4 pick 28 trade from last year, and all of them are in the side, which was amazing because we didn't think that would happen so quickly. And we have Tutt and Jones potentially playing this weekend.
It's only Jacks, isn't it?
I don't think anybody thought either one would play again, let alone both of them decide at the same time. It's bizarre, but it's the pick 7. It's the Jacks, Wiley, Bokhorst trio, not in the side, any of them.
Well, Bokhorst does get a pass, though. He's injured.
Yeah, he's been injured, but then again, he'd been struggling a little bit, so people were a bit down on him. So, but yeah, it's just interesting how that works out. They all travel together by the sounds of it. Anyway, who's going to match up with who, and who's going to win? And how do we win?
I'm not sure we'll match up sort of much through their midfield. I think sort of pretty common knowledge that we'll just sort of play a whole...
Just cold player on dud across the board, yeah?
I'd be interested to see who Bolton gives first crack to Danaher, whether he goes to Rowe to start the game or whether he gives Wiedering a shot first up. So, yeah...
I think Rowe would be the best because not only is he the tallest, but he's also the heaviest of our defenders. And if there's anyone who's probably good to really make sure that Danaher doesn't get off to a good start, physically bodies him a little bit and really sort of gets him off to a bad start for the game, would be Rowe, to really lay into him physically. And from there, it's a team defence, so anyone could be picking up anyone, I suppose.
Yeah.
Rowe's probably a more forceful spoiler.
Yeah, he should really look to be quite physical with Danaher at the start, because Danaher's a big boy, but he's not that heavy and he's not that strong. So he really needs to, I think, if he gets stuck into him early and really throw him off his game, that'd be the way to go forward.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Midfield is not too bad for Essendon, though. The centre line, and there's a few good players in there. And obviously, we've got the ex-Geelong veterans who are guiding them around the park. So it's not by any means, if we come with any sort of idea that we're going to just walk up and win that, we're going to go down.
Nah, no chance.
Oh, absolutely. We've got to be prepared, from the first bounce to be switched on and to get into it, because I think Essendon will be pretty keen to make amends for what they dished up against Collingwood on Anzac Day, especially in that first half. So I'd expect them to come out pretty hard. So we need to be hard as well and need to be switched on. Look, I still think we can win it, but yeah, we need our boys switched on from that first bounce.
Right, yeah. As long as we've got enough grinders out there, if it's a wet ground and a wet game, and the skills are there, then we've got more heart than them to get over the line. So, so you tipped?
I'll say Carlton by 16 points.
I think we're going to go pretty well in the end. Low scoring game, but I think we'll get up by a good 4 goals, which will be quite a difference between the two teams, especially if it rains. And I think Liam Jones, if it's wet, I don't think he's going to have too much of an impact. But we should hopefully get a lot out of. I'm looking towards Lamb and Sumner to have some really important touches and goals for us.
Yeah. I think probably similar, somewhere between 2 and 3 goals. Just if it's wet. If for some miracle the ground's pretty dry and it's easy to run on top of it and use your skills, then I expect to come away winning by about 40 plus.
The ground does rain very well, but I did catch the weather tonight, and it's supposed to start raining from sort of tomorrow all the way through the weekend. Not a lot of rain, but I think it's going to be a fairly constant. So I suspect the ground probably is going to be pretty wet by the time the game starts on Sunday afternoon. So hopefully it's not, but that's what Lavinia Nixon told me tonight.
Oh, well, totally trust Lavinia. Just before we go, Carlton submitted its application to have a team in the women's football.
Very exciting.
Next year.
Yeah,
Good.
that's very exciting.
Gee, we've as far as promoting this thing and really getting out there and being proactive, it's been so impressive for a team that's known as a bit of a boys' club and the lowest in the AFL as far as female members, and they've really set out to rectify it and chase this so hard. They've got them back. They've got one of the top female players who I think plays for, I can't remember whether it's Melbourne or the Bulldogs, but he's a Carlton ambassador for women's football. So imagine if we get a Carlton team, that's where it should be heading. Just with what's our board member's name, Kate? Anyway, I've drawn a mental Jenkins. So just with as far as since she's come in and the sort of female initiatives we've taken, this is another name out. Captain Carlton's offsider, something Nina. Navy Nina, that's it. So, I mean, the gestures that we're making seem more than token. All the words, because and it's not. I don't feel it's token anyway. Some people might be a little bit cynical about such things, as far as building a membership base and so forth. But as a passionate Carlton supporter and a guy, I'm so looking forward to seeing a female team wearing the CFC monogram running out there. I mean, I could just see me just being. I just like competitive sport.
Yeah.
Whoever's playing it. And I'd back it to the hilt. If they're going to have a separate membership, then I'll be on board too. And I won't be able to get to go to any games because I'm not in Melbourne. But just to support that concept, I think it's wonderful. And I just hope there's limited places available. I see GWS are pushing for a team, and obviously the couple of Melbourne teams have already got their licences sorted because they were the first ones to start. So we're probably fighting for one of maybe a couple of spots. And I don't know who else is actually promoting that initiative. I just pray that the AFL look upon us favourably.
Yeah, I don't want to dwell on it too long, but I think it's a great initiative by the club. But in a wider sense as well, we're seeing like some, what's Bolton saying? Green sprouts? Green shoots. Green shoots from the administration as well. I think over the last couple of years, we're really starting to move in the right direction as a club and start pulling our head out of backsides and moving forward. So not only is the women's footy initiative great that the club is getting involved with it, but I think what the club is doing overall has been really positive.
It's interesting, isn't it? You don't really know a lot about what goes on behind the scenes, but when we come up with these new initiatives, you sort of sit there and go, it makes you realise what we weren't doing before and what we didn't have before, and you probably don't even, you take it for a little bit for granted, and some things you come out with and go, oh, weren't we doing that? What? We don't have female members. Well, I didn't know that, because we've got a couple of we've had female members on our podcast.
Yeah, I thought we were good.
We embrace all, but it's sort of, it just makes you realise, and real credit to the administration and basically everybody at the club. And even when in our photo opportunity today, I think it was 10 people representing the club from every section of the club. With all their portfolios and handing their application in. 5 females, 5 males. It was just another. Smart. We're just getting smarter with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our marketing and just whoever's giving them advice is giving them pretty good advice at the moment. That's all. Just on other news, somebody mentioned at the top of the podcast, there was a bit of a talk about Chris Judd.
Yeah, he's joining the panel of Footy Classified, apparently. Something was tweeted out just before we sort of came on air tonight. So I think he's not going to be there every week, but he's going to be there some weeks. I'm not really sure. It just sort of popped up 5 minutes before we all came on. So don't have a lot of details yet, but he's a bit interesting, seeing as I didn't think he'd really shown any interest in being in the media.
I'd love to hear his insight as a bit of a neutral, commenting on other teams and stuff like that. That'd be fantastic. But as he said, it just seems so un-Judd-like.
Yeah.
It's certainly not something that he wanted to go into. And so if he's only going to do it once in a while just to sort of, keep an interest or something, then maybe so. But, I wonder if just a full-time media gig just doesn't seem like his thing. But
I must admit, I'm surprised he's even in the media, to be honest. I thought he'd be the one player that you could sort of think, once his footy career's over, that's it, he'll just go off and do his own thing.
Sorry, he's been engaged. He's been fronting up to matches and sitting in the box with Beck and things like that. We're seeing a little bit of it, aren't we? He said all this before he retired, and because the public scrutiny on him was fantastic. It was huge beforehand. It was just probably a bit unnerving for him, and wasn't his style. But now all that's been taken away, you probably reevaluate a little bit and go, oh, I still love football. I still like to be involved somewhere. So maybe come back and coach. Jody, I'd love to have you. A stoppage coach.
Oh,
that would be lovely.
That would be fantastic.
10,000 memberships extra right there.
Yep.
All right, that's enough waffling from us here. I think we've done pretty well. Didn't hear anybody yawning tonight, ShanDog? There it goes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, I know when it's time to get off. All right, folks.
Whoa.
Oh dear. See, if there was a female person on this podcast, you guys would be slapped down really fast for that. Right. Thank you, ShanDog, for coming in.
No worries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. What's your name? HBF?
Thank you.
I was joking.
I think, is it?
And let's look forward to another win on the weekend for the Mighty Blues. Go, you good thing.